Ajax Sophocles, son of ever on the prowl to seize some coign of vantage, gainst thy foes, now at the tent of Ajax by the ships, where he is posted on the flank, I see thee following the trail and scanning his fresh tracks, to learn if Ajax be within or no. Bravely thy long search brings thee to the goal, like a kine-scented hound of Spartan breed. The man has even now returned, his brow bedewed with sweat and hands besmeared with gore. No further need to peer within these doors, say rather what the purpose of thy search thus keenly urged, and learn from one who knows. Voice of Athena, goddess most by me beloved, how clearly, though I see thee not, those accents strike my ear and thrill my soul, like some Tyrrhenian trumpet, brazen-mouthed. Yea, thou hast well divined why thus I cast about in hot pursuance of a foe, Ajax, the bearer of the sevenfold shield, him and none other I have tracked full long. Last night a monstrous thing he wrought on us, if it be he in sooth tease all surmise. So for the hard task of discovery I volunteered. This very morn we found our herds, the spoil of war, all hacked and hewn slain with their herdsmen by some human hand. On him with one consent all lay the guilt, and by a scout who marked him o'er the plain in mad career alone with reeking sword I duly was informed, and instantly I sped upon the spoor, and now the tracks and now am all at fault, without a clue to tell me whose they are. Most welcome then thy advent, than the hand that ever guided and shall guide my paths. I know Odysseus, and set forth betimes to meet thee and abet thee in this chase. Tell me, dear mistress, will my quest succeed? Know that the guilty man is he thou seek'st. What moved him to this rash, insensate deed? Resentment touching dead Achilles' arms. Why did he fall upon the innocent sheep? He thought his hands were gory with your blood. What was this onslaught planned against the Greeks? And it had succeeded but for me. How could he venture such foolhardiness? He schemed a night attack by stealth alone. And did he reach us and arrive his goal? At the tent door of the two chiefs he stood. What then arrested him a thirst for blood? By the strong delusion that I sent, a vision of the havoc he should make. I turned his wrath aside upon the flocks and the promiscuous cattle in the charge of drovers, booty not apportioned yet. On them he fell, and hewing right and left dealt death among the herd, and now it was the two whom he slew, and now a third, and now some other chief. 'Twas I that goaded him while thus distraught, and thrust him deeper in the coils of fate. Then pausing in this toil he turned to bind the oxen left alive with all the sheep, and drave them home as if his spoil were men, and not poor innocent beasts with hoofs and horns, and now is mangling them fast bound within. Thou too this raving madness shalt behold, that thou mayst bruit the sight to all the Greeks. Be of good heart and stand thy ground, no harm shall come from him, for I will turn aside his vision, lest he should behold thy face. Ho, thou that bind'st with cords behind their backs thy captives' hands, ho Ajax, hear'st thou not? I summon thee to come before the tent. What dost thou, goddess? Nowise call him forth. Bridle thy tongue, earn not a coward's name. Nay, nay, suffice it that he bide within. What fear'st thou? Is he not as erst a man? Yea, and to me sworn and is still. What mockery than to mock at foes? Enough for me that he abide within. What fear to see a madman face to face? I had not quailed to face him were he sane. Insane he shall not see thee now though near. If he has eyes as erst, how can that be? I will obscure his vision, howe'er clear. Well, when a god works, all is possible. Paisa. Stand thy ground and budge not from the spot. So will I yet had liefer been far hence. To Ajax. Ho, Ajax. Once again I summon thee. Say why this scant regard for thine ally? Hail, O Athena, Zeus-born maiden, hail. Thine aid how opportune. For this I'll crown thy shrine with votive spoils of gold. Fair words, but tell me, hast thou well imbrued thy sword with carnage of the Argive host? A glorious deed that I will not disclaim. Haply thou has assailed the two, so that they ne'er will outrage Ajax more. If I interpret rightly, they are dead. Both dead, now let them cheat me of my arms. Good, and how fares it with son? How hast thou left him? Or has he escaped? Hey, that sly fox wouldst know what's come of him. Of him Odysseus, thy antagonist. A welcome guest he sits within, fast bound. I have no mind that he should die as yet. What wouldst he thou first? What further profit win? I'll bind him to a pillar of my tent. What vengeance wilt thou wreak on the poor wretch? Flay with my scourge his back before he die. Oh, torture not the wretch so savagely. In all but this, Athena, have thy will, this and none else must be his punishment. Well, since it is thy pleasure, be it so. Lay on, abate no jot of thine intent. I will to work then, and I look to thee to be my true ally all times, as now. Exit Ajax. Odysseus, see how great the might of gods. Couldst thou have found a man more circumspect, or one more prompt for all emergencies? I know none such, and though he be my foe, I still must pity him in his distress, bound hand and foot to fatal destiny, and therein mind my case no less than his. Alas, we living mortals, what are we but phantoms all, or unsubstantial shades? Warned by these sights, Odysseus, see that thou utter no boastful word against the gods, nor swell with pride if haply might of arm exalt thee o'er thy fellows or vast wealth. A day can prostrate, and a day upraise all that is mortal, but the gods approve sobriety and frowardness abhor. Exeunt Athena and Odysseus. Enter Chorus. Son of Telamon, thou whose isle sea-girt Salamis doth smile o'er the surge, thy joys I share when thy fortunes promise fair. But if stroke of Zeus assail, or the slanderous tongues prevail of to blast thy repute, I cower aghast, like a dove with quivering eye. For of yesternight there fly bitter plaints, and loud-voiced blame crowding on us to our shame, how thou o'er the meads rich in troops of unbacked steeds, and with flashing sword didst slay all the yet prey of the Greeks, in foray and spoiling all their hard-earned gain. Such the scandal, as we hear Odysseus breathes in every ear, and he wins belief, for now thou dost seem thy guilt to avow, and the spreads and swells. Even more than he who tells, every hearer takes delight in thy woes, for envious spite. So it falls, the noblest heart is a target for each dart aimed at me, such shafts would fail, envy doth the great assail. Yet without the great, the small ill could guard the city wall, legged together small and great best defend the common state. Fools this precept will not heed, and these men are fools indeed who against thee rail, and we can do nothing without thee, to confound their charge, O king. Like to birds they flap the wing and chatter when they scape thine eye, but if hovering in the sky the great vulture should appear, mute they cower in sudden fear. Strophe. Was it the Tauric Artemis, Jove's daughter, O dread report, begetter of my shame? Drave thee the flocks, our common stock, to slaughter. Didst thou in victory rob her of her claim to tithe of spoil, her part, when to thy bow there fell some noble heart? Or did the mail-clad god of war resent thy negligence thank-offering to pay? By him at night was the delusion sent that led astray. Antistrophe. Ne'er wouldst thou, Ajax, of thine own intent have wrought this havoc, and the cattle slain. Such frenzy comes from heaven in punishment. Zeus and Apollo prove the vain. And if the great chiefs falsely charge thee, king spreading foul scandal, or the accursed race of Sisyphus one, let not this ill fame cling to us thy friends. No longer hide thy face, quit, we implore, thy tent upon the shore. Rouse thee, my king, where'er thou brooding, too long thou the stir of battle cease, while in the camp red ruin flames to heaven, and like the west wind sowing in the trees, unchecked the mockery goes of thy foes. My woe no respite knows. Crew of Ajax, men who trace back to your famed race, woe is ours who muse upon the far-off house of Telamon, for our lord of dreaded might stricken lies in desperate plight, and his soul is dark as night. What the change so grievous, say, of the morn from yesterday? Daughter of Tel, stalwart Ajax loves thee well, thee his spear-won bride, tease then what befalls him to divine. Ah, how tell a tale so drear? Sad as death what thou shalt hear of great Ajax, undone quite, smit with madness in the night. Look within and see the floor reeking with his victims, gore, slain by his own hand, there lies his ungodly sacrifice. Strophe. O fatal tidings of the hot-brained chief, intolerable yet without relief. What flagrant charge amid the Greek host goes that spread by grows? Ah me, doom stalks. And if with his dark blade the man hath slain the herds and mounted herdsmen, sure he dies, a malefactor shamed before all eyes. Ah me, 'twas thence I saw him come driving his captive cattle home. Of some he gashed the throats, there where they stood upon the ground, and some were ripped and rent in twain. Then 2 white-footed rams he found of one, beheaded first, the tongue he snipped, then far the flung. The other to a pillar lashed erect, with doubled rein he thrashed, and as he plied the whistling thong he uttered imprecations strong, dread words a god no man had taught. Antistrophe. 'Tis time to veil the head and steal away on foot, or straight embarking ply the oar, and let the good ship bear us from the bay, such bitter threats thee on us pour. Me too, if I be by him, they will stone, he stands alone, fate marks him for her own. No more, for like the southern blast when lightnings flash, his rage is past. But now he is himself again, reviving memory brings new pain. What keener anguish than to know thyself sole cause of self-wrought woe? Nay, if ye have surcease, good hope is mine, all may be well, for men are less concerned with evil doing when the trouble's past. Come tell me which wouldst choose, if choice were free to vex thy friends while thou thyself wert glad, or share the pain, grieving with them that grieve. The twofold sorrow, lady, is the worse. Then are we losers now our plague is past. What meanest thou? It passes my poor wit. Yon man, while stricken, had himself delight in his sick fancies, though his presence grieved us who were sane. But now that he is whole, eased of his frenzy, he is racked with grief, and we are no less troubled than before. Are there not here 2 ills in place of one? 'Tis even so, and much I fear it prove a stroke from heaven, if indeed, now cured, he is no gladder than he was when sick. His case is as thou, rest assured. But tell us how the plague first struck him down. We share thy sorrow and would know it all. Hear then the story of our common woe. At dead of night, when all the lamps were out, he took his 2-edged sword, as if intent on some wild expedition. So I chid him, saying, What dost thou, Ajax, why go forth? No summons, messenger, or trumpet blast hath called thee, nay, by now the whole host sleeps. He answered lightly with an ancient saw, Woman, for women's silence is a grace. Admonished thus I held my tongue, but he sped forth alone. What happened afterwards I know not, but he came back with his spoil oxen and sheep dogs with their fleecy charge. Some he beheads, of some the upturned necks he cuts, or cleaves the chine, others again he buffeted and mangled in their bonds, mauling the beasts as if they had been men. At last he darted through the door and held wild converse with some phantom of the brain and Odysseus now, he mocked with peals of laughter, vaunting loud the vengeance he had wreaked on them. Anon he rushed indoors again, and then in time with painful struggles was himself again. And as he scanned the havoc all around, he smote his head and wailed and sank to earth, a wreck among the wreck of slaughtered sheep, digging into his hair his nails. At first a long, long while he spake no word, then against me he uttered those dire threats, if I declared not all that had befallen, bidding me tell him in what plight he stood. And I a tremble told him what had chanced, so far as I had knowledge. Whereat he broke into lamentations, piercing, shrill, such as I ne'er had heard from him before. For 'twas his creed that wailings and lament are for the craven and faint hearts. No shrill complaint escaped him ever, his low moan was like the muffled bellowing of a bull. But now, confounded in his abject woe, refusing food or drink, he sits there still, just where he fell amid the slain sheep and cattle. And 'tis plain he meditates some mischief, so I read his muttered exclamations and laments. Come, friends, and help me, if so be ye can. This was my errand. Men in case like his are one to reason by the words of friends. Daughter of, dread thy tidings of our master thus distraught. Woe, woe is me! Worse is to come, I fear me. Heard ye not the voice of Ajax, that heartrending cry? Woe, woe is me! 'Tis a fresh fit, methinks, or else he groans at sight of all the ills his frenzy wrought. My son, ah me! 'Tis for thee he calls. What would he? Where art thou, my son? Ah me! Ho, where is? Will his raid end never? And the while I am undone. He seems himself again. Quick, ope the door. Perchance the sight of us, his humble friends, may bring him to a soberer mood. I open, and thou mayst view his works and his own plight. Strophe 1. Mariners ever leal and true, alas my friends have left me, all but you, see how disasters whelmed me like a flood, and now I welter in a surge of blood. Ah lady, thy report was all too true, too clear the tokens of an unhinged brain. Antistrophe 1. Sailors brave, whose flashing oar swift and sure the good ship bore, to you I look for comfort, none but you come slay me too. O hush, essay not ill by ill to cure, nor aggravate the burden of thy doom. Strophe 2. Seest thou the bold, stout-hearted knight who never quailed to face the fight, now on tame beasts that fear no harm he proves the puissance of his arm. Ah me! The mockery, the scorn, the shame. Ajax, my dearest master, speak not so. Out with thee, woman, hence, avaunt, begone. Ah me! Ah me! Oh listen, I adjure thee, and be ruled. Wretch, to let those fiends, my foes, slip, while on the flock my blows and the goodly cattle reigned, till with their dark blood all the house was stained. Why vex thyself for what is past? Recall. What's done is done, and naught can alter it. Antistrophe 2. Spy of the time, apt tool for any guile, of all the host the knave, most vile, son of loud and long, I trow thou in malignant triumph now. Laughter or mourning comes as God ordains. Would I could see him, shattered though I be. Ah me! No boastful words, seest he not thy piteous case? O Zeus, my grandsire, would that I might slay that knave, my bane, that arch-dissembler and the generals twain. Then let me die. When thus thou pray that I with thee may die, why should I live when thou art dead? Strophe 3. O woe is me! Darkness my light. O nether gloom to me more bright than midday, take, O take me to your care. I am too vile to share the kindly aid of mortals, and the gods have left me. Nay, the warrior maid, Zeus-born, laughs me to scorn, I quail beneath her rods. Whither to fly? What hope of rest is left, if of my ancient fame bereft, dead as these slaughtered sheep around me slain, a madman's crown I gain, while all the host at my devoted head would strike and smite me dead. Ah me, that one so good should utter words that hitherto he ne'er had deigned to breathe. Paths of the roaring waves, ye salt sea caves and pastures by the shore, where long, too long I roam in Troyland, far from home, me shall ye see no more in life. Give ear all who can hear. Streams of rills that flow from Ida's hills, streams to the Greeks so dear, ne'er shall ye look on Ajax more, a paladin whose peer, for I will utter a proud boast, in all the Grecian host that sailed from Hellas, shore Troy ne'er beheld. But now low in the dust, his head doth bow. How to restrain or how to let thee speak I cannot tell, beset by endless woes. Whoe'er had thought how well my name would fit my misery. Me too, yea, twice and thrice, may I repeat the wail that syllables my woebegone estate. My sire, a peerless warrior, home returned back from the land of Ida, crowned with fame, proclaimed as champion bravest of the brave. And I, his son, in might not less than he, sailed after him to this same land of Troy, and served the host by deeds of no less worth, and for reward I perish by the Greeks. Yet one thing I know full well, if to Achilles living it had fallen his arms as meed of to award, no man had grasped the prize preferred to me. But now the, scouting my just claim, have yielded to a miscreant's base intrigue. Had not mine eyes been dazed, my mind distraught and wrested from its purpose, they had never procured false sentence gainst a second man. Alas! The grim-eyed goddess, daughter of Zeus, as I was at their heels, almost at grips with them, in act to strike, foiled me, abused me by a frenzy fit, imbrued my hands with blood of these poor beasts. And thus my foes exult in their escape, albeit I willed it not, and mock at me. But if some god or goddess intervene, even a knave may worse the better man. And now what's left me? By the gods, 'tis clear I am detested, hated by the host of Greeks, abhorred by Troy and all the camp. Shall I sail homeward o'er the Aegean, leave the sons of Atreus to fight on alone, this roadstead undefended? Then how face my father Telamon? How will he endure to look on me returning, empty-handed, without the meed of that he held himself, a crown of everlasting fame. That were intolerable. Am I then alone to storm the Trojan battlements, and facing single-handed a whole host, do some high deed of prowess and so die? Nay, that methinks would give the joy. It may not be, some emprise must be found that shall convince my aged sire his son is not degenerate from his father's breed. Base were it that a man should want long life when all he gets is long unchanging trouble. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, what pleasure comes of that? 'Tis but a move forward or backward, and the end is death. I would not count that mortal worth a who lives on, fed by visionary hopes. Nobly to live that is the true knight's choice, or nobly end his life. I have said my say. No man will charge thee, Ajax, with feigned words. 'Twas thy heart spoke, yet pause and put aside these dark thoughts, let thyself be ruled by friends. Ah, my lord Ajax, heavier lot is none than to lie helpless in the coils of fate. I was the daughter of a high-born sire, of Phrygians unsurpassed in wealth and might. And now I am a slave, 'twas so ordained by heaven methinks and by thy might of arm. Since fate has willed then I should share thy bed, thy good is mine, and oh by the god of the hearth, oh by the wedded bond that made us one, let me not fall into a stranger's hand, a laughing-stock. For surely if thou die and leave me widowed, on that very day I shall be seized and haled away by force, I and thy son, prey to the Argive host, our portion slavery. Then shall I hear the flouts and jibes that my new lords let fly. Look on her, one will say, the leman once of Ajax, mightiest of the Argive chiefs, how has she fallen from her place of pride. Thus will they prate, and hard will be my lot, but on thy race and the how foul a slur. Take pity and bethink thee of the sire thou, an old man, disconsolate, bethink thee of thy mother bowed with years, think of her prayers and vows for thy return. And O my lord, take pity on thy son, orphaned, without a father's fostering care, the ward of loveless guardians, if thou die what heritage of woe is his and mine? For I have naught to look to anywhere save thee. By thee my country was laid waste, my mother and my father too were snatched to dwell with Hades by another fate. What home is left me then, if thou art in? What weal? My welfare is bound up in thee. Think of me also, gratitude is due from man for that a woman gives. Kindness return of kindness e'er begets. Who lets the memory of service pass him, will I ne'er with noble spirits rank. Ajax, I would that thou wert moved as I to pity, then wouldst thou approve her rede. Yea, and my full approval she shall win, if only she take heart to do my hest. I, my dear lord, I will obey in all. Bring hither then my son, that I may see him. Oh, in alarm I sent him from my charge. When I was stricken, or what meinest thou? Yea, lest the poor child meeting thee should die. That fate indeed had matched my fortunes well. Well, I averted that calamity. Thy forethought and the action I commend. As the case stands, how can I do thy hest? Let me speak to him, see him face to face. Good, he is in our servants' charge close by. Then wherefore is his coming thus delayed? My child, thy father calls thee. To the servants. Bring him hither, whoever of you guides his infant steps. Comes he, or has he failed to hear thy call? I see one just approaching with the boy. Lift him, oh lift him to my arms, no dread, if he be mine, his father's true-born son, he'll feel in gazing on this fresh blood. He must be early trained and broken into the stern rule of life his father held, and to the likeness of his sire. My boy, mayst thou prove happier than thy sire, but like him in all else, and thou wilt prove no weakling, nay, e'en now in this at least I envy thee, of woes thou not, for ignorance is life's bliss, the years when joy and sorrow are both unknown. But when thou manhood, then's the time to prove the inbred virtue of thy race, and show thy father's foes whose son thou art. Meanwhile let light airs feed thee, cherish thou thy tender years to glad thy mother's heart. Thou needst not fear that any of the Greeks will tease or vex thee, e'en when I am gone. So stout a guardian will I leave in charge, whose watchful eye will slumber not, though now a foray gainst his enemies keeps him hence. And ye, my seamen, comrades in the fight, on you no less than him I lay this charge of love, to him convey my last behest. Bid him from me take home this son of mine too, and to Telamon, that he may comfort their old age till death. And for my arms, let no Greek arbiter of games so bid him, nor my venomous foe set them as prize for the Achaean host. But this, the shield from which thou took'st thy name 3, take this, my son, this sevenfold, spear-proof targe, take it and wield it by the close-stitched thongs. My other arms shall lie with me interred. Quick, take the child, delay not, close the doors, nor at the tent's side moan and make lament. In sooth, a woman is a tearful thing. Quick, make all fast, tease not a leech who mumbles charms o'er ills that need the knife. I tremble as I mark this eager haste, thy words are sharp as swords and like me not. O my lord Ajax, what is in thy heart? Question not, ask not, be discreet and wise. Ah me, I quail, I faint. O by thy child, by heaven I implore thee, fail us not. Thou art importunate, know'st he not that I henceforward owe no duty to the gods? O hush, blaspheme not. Speak to ears that hear. Wilt thou not heed? I have heard from thee too much. Fear, my lord, makes me speak. Quick, close the doors. Yield, I implore thee. Fond simplicity, if at this hour thou think'st to my mood. Exit Ajax. Strophe 1. Ah, Salamis, blessed isle, secure, serene above the waves that lash thy shore, as ocean's queen thou evermore. But I in exile drear, month after month, year after year, on Ida's meads must bivouac, all forlorn by time outworn, and ever nearer, ever darker loom the night of Hades and eternal gloom. Antistrophe 1. And now to crown my grief comes a new woe, my leader Ajax, mad beyond relief, by heaven laid low, how fallen from that impetuous chief, who sailed to meet the foe. Now to his friends' distress, he sits and broods in sullen loneliness, those doughty deeds his right hand wrought now count for naught, and from that loveless pair, those men of sin, no love but despite win. Strophe 2. Ah, when his mother, blanched with age and frail, hears of his shattered reason, what wild wail will she upraise, a dirge of shrill despair, no plaintive ditty of the nightingale, with beating of the breast and rending of white hair. Antistrophe 2. Better be buried with the dead who lives with brain. Of all the Greeks' toil worn, behold the noblest born now from his native temper warped and strange, whose thoughts in alien paths distracted range. O wretched father, what a curse 'tis thine upon thy son to hear curse, that on none e'er fell of all this great line save him alone. Time in its slow, illimitable course brings all to light and buries all again, strange things it brings to pass, the oath is broken and the stubbornest will is bent. E'en whose will aforetime was as iron steeled in the dipping, now have lost the edge of resolution, by this woman's words unmanned, to pity melted at the thought of her a widow and my orphan son left amidst. But I go my way to the sea baths and meadows by the beach, that I may there assoil me and assuage the wrathful goddess, having purged my sin. Then will I seek some solitary spot and hide this sword, of weapons most accursed, deep under earth, consigned to night and hell, where never eye of man may see it more, for since the day I it, a gift from Hector, my archenemy, to this hour no from Achaeans have I won. So true the word familiar in men's mouths, a foe's gifts are no gifts and profit not. Henceforward I shall know to yield to heaven, and school myself the to respect. They are our rulers, and obey we must, how otherwise? Dread potencies and powers submit to law. Thus winter snow bestrown gives place to opulent summer. Night's dim orb is put to flight when dawn with her white steeds kindles the daybeams, and the wind's fierce breath can lay the storm and lull the moaning deep. E'en thus all-conquering sleep holds not for ever whom he is bound, and must relax his grasp. And we, shall we not likewise learn to yield? I most of all, for I have learnt, though late, this rule, to hate an enemy as one who may become a friend, and serve a friend as knowing that his friendship may not last. An unsafe anchorage to most men proves the bond of friendship. As for present needs, all shall be well. Woman, go thou within, and pray the gods that all my heart's desires may find their consummation to the full. And ye, my comrades, see that ye respect no less than she my wishes, and enjoin on when he comes to care for me, and show goodwill to you, my friends, withal. For I am going whither I am bound. Do ye my bidding, and perchance, though now I suffer, ye may hear of my release. Exit Ajax. Strophe. I thrill with rapture, all my heart upsprings. Pan, pan, O Pan, appear. Come to us o'er the sea, sea rover, leaving the ridges of striven snow. Come to us, hand in hand, blithe dances weaving, thou leader of the dance in heaven. Show of Nyssa and of measures rare, for in my rapture I the dance would share. Come and upon his footsteps swiftly follow, winging thy way across the Icarian main. Show thy bright presence, Delos, own Apollo, god of my life, thou healer of all pain. Antistrophe. Grim Ares from mine eyes the cloud of sadness has lifted. Now the radiant dawn, a new angel of light and harbinger of gladness, visits our ships that swiftly cleave the blue. O joy when Ajax has forgot once more his woe, and turns the godhead to adore. Due rites he pays with contrite heart and lowly. O all-devouring time, what miracles thou! Lo, his feud forgotten wholly, Ajax at peace with the dwells. Is here that, friends, is my first news, back from the Mysian highlands newly come. But as he neared headquarters in mid-camp, he was beset with universal shouts of obloquy. They spied him from afar, and crowding round him as he nearer came, rained on him taunts from this side and from that, railed at the kinsman of the crazy wretch, plotter of mischief, gainst the host to die by stoning, mauled and mangled. Is thy doom, think not to scape it, villain, so they cried. It came to such a pass that swords were drawn and brandished. Then the riot, having run to the very verge of bloodshed, was allayed by intervention of the elder men. But where is Ajax? Him I fain would tell, tease meet your lords should know whate'er befell. He is not within, but now he went abroad, yoking some new resolve to his new mood. Alack, alack! Too late then on this errand was I sent, or I a laggard have arrived too late. What pressing business has been slackly done? Enjoined his brother should not forth, or quit his tent till he himself should come. Well, he is gone, and with the best resolve to make his peace with heaven. Folly sheer if there be sense in prophecy. What prophecy? What's thou thereof? Thus much I know, for I was there. The seer, leaving the council of assembled chiefs, from the drew aside and laid his right hand lovingly in's hand, and spake and charged him straightly by all means for this one day whose light yet shines, to keep Ajax within his tent nor let him forth, if he would see him still a living man. Only today, said, will the wrath of dread Athena vex him, and no more. Mortals waxing fat with pride fall in their folly, smitten by the gods with dire disaster. So the prophet spake, whene'er a mortal born to man's estate exalts himself in thoughts too high for man. Thus Ajax, when first he left his home in folly, spurned his fathers. Seek victory, my son, so warned the sire, but seek it ever with the help of heaven. He in his arrogance replied, Father, with gods to aid, a man of naught might well prevail, but I without their help. Such was his haughty boast. A second time to Queen Athena, as she spurred him on to turn his reeking hand upon his foes, he spake a blasphemous, outrageous word. Queen, stand beside the other Greeks. Where I am posted, fear not that our ranks will break. Such vaunting words drew on him the dire wrath of the goddess, pride too high for mortal man. But if he can survive this day, perchance with God's good aid we may avail to save him. So spake the seer, and straightway rose and sent me with these mandates. Have I failed, Ajax is doomed, or is no seer? Ill-starred, born to woe, come forth, and hearken to this messenger, whose words that touch us to the quick brook no delay. Why break my rest, and trouble me again relieved a while from woes that have no end? List to this man the tidings he has brought of Ajax' fortunes, filling me with grief. What is thy news, man? Say, are we undone? I know not of thy fortunes, only this, if Ajax is abroad, I augur ill. Alas, he is. How thy words chill my soul. Injunction is to keep him close indoors, nor let him go abroad alone. And where is? Wherefore speaks he thus? He hath returned but lately and forebodes grave jeopardy, if Ajax goes abroad. Ah, woe is me! Who warned him of this peril? The prophet, son of but today, when in the scales for him hang life and death. Help, friends, protect me from the impending doom. Speed some to hasten on his way, some to the western creeks, and some to those that front the morn, pursue his ill-starred track. I see too well my lord hath cheated me, withdrawn that long time was mine. Ah me! What shall I do, my child? No time to sit with folded hands, I too will go, so far as this weak frame allows, in search. Up quick to work. No moment must be lost, if we would save a man who hastes to death. Ready am I, not words alone shall prove, but speed of act and foot my readiness. Exeunt Ajax alone on the seashore, planting his sword in the ground. The slayer standeth where his stroke is sure. If I have time to muse thus curiously, the gift of Hector erst my friend, the man most hateful to my soul and sight, now fixed in's land, the land of Troy, fresh edged upon the iron fretting stone, here have I planted it and set it fast, a friend to help me to a speedy death. My part is done, for what remains, O Zeus, first I invoke thine aid, and claim my due. 'Tis no excessive boon I shall demand. I pray thee send some messenger to bear to the sad tale, that he may come to lift me where I lie a bleeding corpse, fallen on this gory sword, lest I be first discovered by some enemy and cast forth, a prey to dogs and birds. Thus much, O Zeus, I crave of thee, and Hermes I invoke, born guide of spirits to the nether world, to lay me soft to rest at one swift gasp without a struggle, when into my side I plunge this sword. Ye too I call to aid, maidens immortal, with immortal eyes beholding all the many woes of man, swift-footed hounds of vengeance, mark ye well how by thee I am all undone. Swoop on them, furies, blight, and blast them both in utter ruin, as they see me now. On ye avengers, glut your maw, spare not, let ruin seize the whole Achaean host. And thou whose chariot climbs the steep of heaven, when in thy course thou seest my fatherland, draw in thy gold-bedizened rein and tell my aged sire and mother of their son, his sorrows and his end. Poor mother! When she hears the tale, her piercing wail will ring through all the city. But how profitless these idle lamentations and delay. With such dispatch as may be let's to work. O death, 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 draw nigh and look on me, yet there below I shall have time to converse face to face with death. But thee, O bright effulgence of this radiant day, on thee, the sun-god charioteer, I call for the last time and never more again. O light! O sacred soil of mine own land, my Salamis! My home, my ancestral hearth! O far-famed Athens, race akin to mine, ye Trojan springs and streams, ye plains of Troy, farewell, ye nurses of my fame, farewell. This is the last word Ajax speaks to you. Henceforth he talks in Hades with the dead. He falls upon his sword. Toil, toil, and toil on toil. Where have my steps not roamed, and yet no place that hath a secret for my ear hissed. Hissed, no. What sound was that? 'Tis we, thy mates. What cheer, mates? All westward of the fleet we've ranged and found. Found, say you? Of Moyle, of what we sought no trace. No better luck to the eastward, on the road that fronts the sunrise not a trace of him. Strophe! Oh, that some toiling fisher by the bay, dragging his nets all night, some Oread from Olympus' height, or nymph who haunts the tides of Bosporus, might spy the wanderer on his wayward way and bring the tale to us. Hard lot is ours who tack to east, to west, and find no track, ne'er in our luckless course descry the derelict nor come. Woe, woe is me! Whose was that cry from out the covert's fringe? Me miserable! My hapless mistress, Ajax' spear-won bride, whelmed in anguish I behold. I'm lost, undone, of all bereft my friends. What thee? Here lies our Ajax, newly slain, impaled upon his sword, new planted in the ground. Oh, for my hope of return! O my chief, thou hast slain me thy shipmate. My heart blades for thee, lady forlorn. Thus lies he overthrown, 'tis ours to wail. By whose hand did he thus procure his death? By his own hand, 'tis manifest, the sword set in the ground on which he fell is proof. Out on my blindness, all alone, unwatched of friends, he bled to death. And I saw naught, heard naught, recked naught of thee. Where lies he, Ajax, the self-willed, the unbending, luckless as his name? No eye shall look on him, this robe around shall lap him and enshroud from head to foot. For none who knew him, not his dearest friend, could bear to see him, as the dark blood spurts up through his nostrils from the self-wrought wound. What shall I do? What friend shall lift him up? Where is? Timely would he come, if come he might, to raise him and lay out his brother's course. Ah me! How high thou stoodst, my Ajax, and how low thou here. A sight to melt to tears e'en's eyes. Antistrophe! A woeful hero, 'twas thy fate, with that unyielding soul of thine in endless misery to decline, and reach the goal of ruin, soon or late. I knew it as I heard the eve and mourn against the vent thy passionate complaint, a bitter cry of proud disdain and scorn. I then began my woes, when first arose the contest, who those arms could claim as guerdon for the first in warlike fame. Woe, woe is me! The anguish, well I know it, pierces to thy true heart. Woe, woe is me! No marvel thou wail and wail again, bereft so lately, and of one so loved. The woe I feel thou canst in part conceive. 'Tis true. Alas, my child, to what hard yoke of bondage must we come, so merciless the taskmasters set over thee and me. The ruthless pair, and their grim deeds ineffable thy boding soul prefigures. God avert it! Save by God's will we were not in this case. They have laid on us a load too hard to bear. Yet such the plague wherewith the daughter dire of Zeus afflicts us for Odysseus' sake. Yea, how the patient hero must exult in his dark soul, and mock with fiendish laughter at our frenzied grief, and the two chiefs withal when they learn his fate. Well, let them laugh and mock at Ajax. It may be, though they missed him not in life, when comes the stress of war they'll mourn him dead. Men of mean judgment know not the good thing they have and hold till they have squandered it. He by his death more sorrow gave to me than joy to them. To himself 'twas pure content, for all he yearned to attain he won himself death that he chose. Then wherefore scoff at him? The gods were authors of his death, not they. So let Odysseus, if it please him, vent vain taunts, for them there is no Ajax more, and dying he has left me naught but woe. Woe, woe is me! Hist, hist! Methinks 'tis voice I hear, that woeful strain of mourning at our loss. Beloved Ajax, dearest of my kin, did fame not lie then? Hast thou fared thus ill? He hath perished, and report spake true. Then woe is me for my most grievous loss. And since 'tis thus, alas for me, alas! The hour for mourning, O sharp pang of pain, is come, O, as thou say'st he. But his son, where in Troyland bides he now? Alone beside the tent. Then bring him quickly, lest of our one should snatch him up, as from a lioness forlorn her cub. Go quick, bestir thyself. 'Tis the world's way to flout and triumph o'er the prostrate dead. Exit. Yea, while he yet lived Ajax left to thee, this child to tend him as thou dost. O saddest sight of all I ever saw, O bitterest of all paths I ever trod, the path that led me hither, Ajax loved, my best loved Ajax. When I learnt thy fate, and as I tracked in desperate haste thy steps, for a swift, like a voice from heaven, ran through the host that thou wert dead and gone. I heard it, and I moaned in spirit afar, but now the sight strikes death into my soul. O woe! Come, lift let me see the worst. O bleeding form, O agonizing sight! How brave, how rash, how cruel in thy death, what seed of misery for me! Where can I turn, what race of men will house me, the wretch who failed to help thee in thy woes? How Telamon, thy sire and mine withal, will beam upon me, canst he not picture him? When I return without thee, Telamon who in his hours of fortune never smiles, will he refrain? Will he not curse and ban the bastard of his spear-won concubine, the wretch who like a coward and poltroon forsook thee, dearest Ajax, or conspired to hold thy realm and halls when thou wert dead? Thus will he rave, the choleric, soured old man, ready to pick a quarrel for a straw. And in the end I shall be banned, defamed, rejected, branded no free man, a slave. Such cheer at home awaits me, and at Troy my foes are many and my friends to seek. Thus by thy death I've profited. Ah me! How tear thee from this cruel glittering blade, that stands arraying thine executioner. Seest thou how Hector dead, and turned to dust, was fated in the end to be thy death? Look on the fortunes of the two, I pray ye, Hector, who by the very belt he wore, a gift from Ajax, lashed to the car rail, was dragged and mangled till his ghost expired. 5 And this the sword whose murderous edge transfixed the side of Ajax, this was Hector's gift. Say, was it not some fury forged this blade, was not that hellish girdle wove by death? I hold, for my part, these and all things else the gods contrive for mortals. But maybe some disapprove my creed, let such an one cling to his own belief as I to mine. Abridge thy large discourse, think how to lay the dead man in his grave, and what thy plea shall be anon. I see a foe approach. Perchance he comes with mocking of our grief, as miscreants use. What captain dost thou see? Menelaus, he at whose behest we sailed. 'Tis he, not hard to thus near. Stop, Sirrah, bear no hand in raising up the course, I charge thee, leave it where it lies. Wherefore dost waste thy breath in these proud words? Such is my will, and the great general's will. On what? Wilt please to tell us that? Hear then. We thought to bring from Salamis for Greeks a friend and firm ally, but found him on trial worse than any Phrygian foe, who plotted death and forth by night gainst the whole host, to slay us with the spear. And had some god not intervened to foil this enterprise, his fate had now been ours, to perish by an ignominious death while he had now been living. But a god turned his blind malice on the flocks and herds. Thus hath he done, and no man shall prevail by might to lay his body in the tomb. He shall be cast forth on the yellow sands, to feed the carrion birds that haunt the beach. Rage not nor bluster as thou hear'st, for we teen if we could not master him alive, in any case will lord it o'er him dead, rule him and discipline in thy despite, by force my words he ne'er would heed alive. Yet 'tis a mark of villainy, when one of the common deigns not to obey his lords. For in a state that hath no dread of law, the laws can never prosper and prevail, nor could enforce be disciplined, lacking the guard of awe and reverence. Nay, though a man should tower in thews and might, a giant o'er his fellows, let him think some petty stroke of fate may work his ruin. Where dread prevails and reverence withal, believe me, there is safety, but the state, where arrogance hath license and self-will, though for a while she run before the gale, will in the end make shipwreck and be sunk. Dread in its proper season and degree must be maintained. Let us not fondly dream that we can act at will to please ourselves, nor pay the price of pleasure by our pains. 'Tis turn and turn, now this man lorded it in insolence, 'tis now my hour of pride. So I forewarn thee, bury him not, lest thou in burying dig thyself a grave. Sage precepts these, my lord, and do not thou thyself become a scoffer of the dead. Friends, I shall never marvel after this if any base-born fellow gives offense, when men who pride them on their lineage by their perverted utterance thus offend. Repeat thy tale, thou to have brought my brother hither as a Greek ally, secured by thee forsooth. Sailed he not forth as his own master, of his own free will? Who made thee lord of him? What right hast thou to rule the clansmen whom he brought from home? Thou cam'st as Sparta's king, no lord of ours. Thou hast no more prerogative or right to govern him than he to govern thee, thou under orders, not as chief, and captain unto Ajax ne'er couldst be. Go lord it o'er thy, chasten them with lordly pride, but this man, whether thou I or thy brother general forbid, I with due rights and offices will bury despite thy threatenings. 'Twas not to bring back thy wife that Ajax joined in the campaign like thy serf drudges, but to keep the oath whereto he had bound himself, no whit for thee, of underlings like thee he took no heed. Go then and bring more heralds back with thee and the commander, for thy noisy rant, whilst thou art what thou art, I care no straw. This speech again mislikes me in the midst of woes, hard words, how just soever, wound. Methinks this archer six hath a captain's pride. I as the master of no vulgar art. How wouldst thou strut, promoted to a shield? Without a shield I were a match for thee in panoply. How valorous with thy tongue! He can be bold who hath his quarrel just. Justice to exalt my murderer. Murdered, and yet thou livest. That is strange. Heaven saved me, in intention I was slain. If the gods saved thee, sin not gainst the gods. Could I e'er abuse the laws of heaven? Yea, if thou com'st to stop the burial of mine own foes, to bury them were sin. Was Ajax e'en thine enemy in the field? He loathed me as I him, thou well. Thou hadst robbed him by suborning votes. 'Twas by the judges he was cast, not me. A fair face thou canst put on foulest frauds. Someone I know will suffer for that word. He who provoked is like to suffer more. One word more he shall not be. One word an answer, buried he shall be. Once did I see a braggart, bold of tongue, who had pressed his crew to sail in time of storm, but when the storm was on him he was mum, lay like a dead log muffled in his cloak, and let the sailors trample him at will. E'en so with thee and thy unbridled tongue. Perchance a mighty hurricane may rise, sprung from a cloud no bigger than a hand, swoop down on thee and quench thy blustering. Once too I knew a fool, a silly fool, who triumphed at his neighbor's woes and mocked, and then it chanced that one, a man like me in looks and character, addressed him thus. Man, do not evil to the dead, for if thou doest evil, thou surely rue it. So to his face he chid that silly fool. I see that wight before me, and methinks, 'tis none but thou. Canst he read my riddle plain? I go for disgrace me, were it known that I with power to act chastised with words. Begone then. For me a worse disgrace to listen to us idle prate. Exit Menelaus. Soon a mortal strife will come. Seek a hollow grave, and haste with what speed thou mayst to prepare the mouldering tomb where the warrior shall lie deathless in men's memory. Lo! In good time I see his child and wife draw near to tend the hero's obsequies. Come hither, child, and take thy place beside him, and lay, in suppliant guise, thy hand in his, and kneel as one who hath taken sanctuary, with locks of hair as offering in thine hand, mine, hers, and thine all-potent means of grace. Then if by violence any of the host should drag thee from the dead man, be his lot to perish banned, cast forth without a grave, cut off with kith and kindred, root and branch, even as I cut this lock from off my head. Take it and keep it, child, let no man move thee. Kneel thou, and clasp in close embrace the dead. And ye, his comrades, stand not idly by as women mourners. Quit yourselves as men in his defense, till I have made a grave to bury him, though all the world forbid. Exit. Strophe 1. When shall the score be told, the sum of the endless years? Weary am I of camps and tramps, and the hurtling of spears. Hither and thither I roam o'er the wind-swept Trojan plain, shame and reproach for Greece, for Grecians' trouble and pain. Antistrophe 1. Would he had sunk to hell, or vanished in ether afar, who first admonished the Greeks to league themselves for the war, the father of toils, whence mortal sorrows began, yea, it was he who begat the plague and ruin of man. Strophe 2. Wretch, for me no garlands fine, cups with red wine no shrill flutes didst thou assign. Wretch, a foe to all delight, and the slumbers soft of night thy alarms have banished quite. And my loves, ah well a day, thou hast driven them all away, here I lie on the cold clay. All alone with none to care, while the dank dews wet my hair. Such Troy thy fair. Antistrophe 2. Erewhile Ajax, stalwart knight, was my buckler in the fight, shield against the alarm of might. Now by fate a victim led to the altar, he hath bled, and for me all joy hath fled. Oh, that from this barren strand, wafted to Athena's land, Ion's brow might stand. Here the waves that round it beat wash the wooded headlands' feet, sacred Athens thence to greet. Lo, I return in haste, I saw approach great Agamemnon, captain of the host, 'tis plain he means to vent on us his spleen. So, Sirrah, it is thou, for thus I learn, hast dared to rant and curse and threaten us, thus far unpunished, thou the bondmaid's son. How had thy mother been a high-born dame, how grand thy speech, how proud had been thy gait, when now a nobody thou that thing of naught, maintaining that we kings had no commission, or on sea or land, to rule the Greeks or thee, and such thy claim that Ajax sailed an independent chief. Is this not rank presumption in a slave? And what is he whose might thou thus? Where did he hold his ground, or lead the assault where I was not? Have Greeks no man but him? 'Twas in an evil hour we made proclaim of open contest for Achilles' arms, if must denounce us as corrupt, whate'er the issue, and if ye reject the adverse judgment of the major part, but must for ever gird at us and rail, or plot to stab us when ye lose your suit. Never with tempers such as yours could law be firmly based, if we are called to oust the rightful victors and promote the worse. This must be stopped. 'Tis not the brawny, big, broad-shouldered men who prove the best at need, the wise and prudent everywhere prevail. The broad-ribbed ox is guided on his path down the straight furrow by a little goad. A like corrective is in store for thee, if thou acquire not some small sense full soon. The man is dead, a shadow, and yet thou lett'st thy tongue wag and insolent. Come to a sober mind, recall thy birth, bring hither someone else, a free-born man, to plead thy cause before us in thy stead, for when thou speak'st thy words convey no sense, I understand not a barbarian tongue. I would ye twain might learn sobriety, 'tis the best counsel I can give you both. Out on man's gratitude. How soon it fades, or proves a traitor when a friend is dead. What memory, what tittle of regard hath he for thee, my Ajax, thou who oft at peril of thy life didst toil for him? Lost, cast away, and all forgot. Vain, windy orator, canst not recall the day when you were cooped within your lines, scattered, half-rooted, and as good as lost, how single-handed he stood forth and saved you, though at your ships the poop decks were ablaze, and Hector o'er the fosse came bounding, prompt to board them. Who averted then the rout? The very man of whom thou now, he did no deed I have not done myself. Was that no loyal service? Judge yourselves, or once again when he in single fight confronted Hector, under no constraint, but by the lot he drew no skulking lot 7, no lump of loam, but one that well he knew would first leap lightly from the crested helm. Such deeds were his, and at his side was I, this slave, of a barbarian mother born. How canst thou prate thus idly? Look at home. Hast thou forgotten that thine own sire's sire was Phrygian Pelops, a barbarian? That Atreus who begat thee, wretch, did set before his brother a most impious feast, his brother's children's flesh. That thou thyself calm's tea of a Cretan mother whom her sire caught with an alien slave, her paramour, and sent to feed dumb fishes of the deep. Thus basely born thou twit'st me with my birth. My sire was Telamon, who won the prize as champion of the host, a peerless bride, a princess, daughter of the meed assigned him by son. She was my mother. And am I thus born nobly of parents both of noblest birth? Am I to shame my kindred overthrown, now helpless, whelmed in utter misery, whom thou wouldst spurn and rob of burial rites, nor art ashamed to promulgate this ban? Know this full well, where'er ye cast this man, we three corpses ye will cast beside. For me nobler before all men's eyes to fall in his behalf, than for a wife of thine or of thy brother, should I say. Therefore bethink thee, 'tis thine interest no less than mine, if on me thou lay a finger. Thou wilt surely wish full soon rather to bear the brand of cowardice than prove thy reckless bravery on me. My lord Odysseus, thou art come in time if thou art here to mediate, not embroil. What is it, sirs? Far off I heard loud words of the Ower, the hero's corpse. True, Lord Odysseus, were we not provoked by the most shameful taunts from yonder man. What taunts? For my part, I can pardon one who when reviled retorts in angry words. I did abuse him as his acts deserved. Say by what action gave he just offense? He vows he will not leave the corpse, but bury it in my despite. May I be candid with thee as a friend without suspicion of my loyalty. Surely, I am not senseless, and I count thee among all the Greeks my chiefest friend. Then hear me. Oh, for pity's sake forbear, repent, and let not violence and hate blind thee to trample justice underfoot. I also counted him my deadliest foe in all the army, ever since the day when by a ward I won Achilles' arms, yet for all that, foe as he was to me, I would not so requite his wrong with wrong as not to own that, save Achilles, he in all the host of Argives had no peer. Unjustly thou wouldst thus him, for not to him but to the laws of heaven wouldst thou do wrong, and wrong it is to insult a brave man dead, e'en if he be thy foe. Wilt thou, Odysseus, take his part against me? Yea, yet I hated him so long as hate was. Why not hate him still, and set thy heel on his dead body too? Delight not, son of Atreus, in ill gains. 'Tis hard for monarchs to show piety, but not respect for friends who counsel well. A true man ever heeds authority. Forbear thou yielding unto friends. Think to what kind of man thou grace. My foe he was, but still a noble foe. What wouldst thou? A dead's corpse. With me his worth outweighs his enmity. Such sudden change of mind we call caprice. Common enough the change from friend to foe. Dost thou commend such fickle friends as these? A stubborn temper I would ne'er commend. Thou mind'st this day to make us seem as cowards. Nay, as just rulers in the eyes of Greece. Thou me then permit the burial. Yes, for I too shall come to need the same. How true the saw, each for himself. And who deserves my more than I? Well, let it seem thy doing, friend, not mine. Howe'er 'tis done, 'twill prove thee good and kind. To thee, my friend, of this be well assured, I'd grant a greater e'en than this. But that man, as in living so in death, shall have my hate. So do as thee. Exit Agamemnon. Whoe'er Odysseus, having proof like this, denies thy wisdom is himself a fool. And now too, once my foe, henceforth I proffer friendship staunch and true as was mine enmity, and I would ask to share with you in obsequies and ritual to grace his grave. No service would I stint that man can render to the mighty dead. Noblest Odysseus, I have naught but praise for thy good words that all belie my fears. Of all the Greeks thou wast his deadliest foe, yet thou alone didst dare espouse his cause, and hadst no heart to insult this dumb cold clay, like yonder crack-brained chief of the host who came, he and his brother general, with intent to cast him forth defamed without a grave. For that may he who rules in heaven supreme, and the Erinnys who not, and Justice who the end, curse those accursed sinners and confound them, e'en as they would have wronged the innocent dead. But for thine aid in these our funeral rites, son of old and chief, I must reject the service, though full loath lest I should do displeasure to the dead. In all the rest be one of us, and if thou wouldst invite some comrade from the camp to join the mourning, we shall welcome him, all else I will provide. Rest well assured, we reckon thee a true great-hearted friend. Well, I was fain to assist, but if your will consents not, I will acquiesce and go. Enough, too long have we delayed. Go some with mattock armed and spade, dig the grave pit speedily, lustral waters to supply others, set the cauldron high, piling around it faggots dry. Let another band be sent to fetch his harness from his tent. Thou too, child, draw near and lay thy little hands on this cold clay, though thy help may not be much, thy sire shall feel thy loving touch. Help to raise this prostrate form. These limbs are cold, yet still the warm veins from the heart and wounded side jet forth their dark tide. Haste, each who claims the name of friend, haste one and all the dead to tend with service due. Since time began there lived on earth no nobler man. Wisdom still by seeing grows, but no man the unseen knows. Shall he fare or ill or well, who of mortals can foretell? Colophon. Ajax was written circa 442 BCE by Sophocles. It was translated from ancient Greek in 1913 by Francis. This was transcribed and produced for standard by Emma and is based on digital scans from the Internet Archive. The cover page is adapted from the Greeks and the Trojans fighting over the body of Patroclus, a painting completed circa 1865 by. The cover and title pages feature the League Spartan and Sorts Mill typefaces created in 2014 and 2009 by the Leg of Type. This edition was released on February 23, 2026, 8:37 p.m. and is based on revision E5-8B3. The first edition of this was released on June 16, 2025, 5:37 p.m. You can check for updates to this, view its revision history, or download it for different systems at org Sophocles Ajax Francis. The volunteer-driven standard project relies on readers like you to submit typos, corrections, and other improvements. Anyone can contribute at .org. Personi. Athena. Odysseus, king of Ithaca. Odysseus, king of Ithaca. Ajax, son of Telamon and Euboea, leader of the men of Salamis. Ajax, son of Telamon and Euboea, leader of the men of Salamis. His captive wife, daughter of king of Phrygia. His captive wife, daughter of king of Phrygia. Their infant son. their infant son. Son of Telamon by. Son of Telamon by. Menelaus, king of Sparta. Menelaus, king of Sparta. Agamemnon, his brother, captain of the host. Agamemnon, his brother, captain of the host. Messenger, one of Ajax's men. Messenger, one of Ajax's men. Chorus, mariners of Salamis. Chorus, mariners of Salamis. Scene, the shore on the northern coast of the Troad before the tent of Ajax. Time, early morning. End notes. Odysseus, reputed son of Sisyphus, not. Odysseus, reputed son of Sisyphus, not. Like Shakespeare's gaunt, Richard I, he plays on his name. Like Shakespeare's gaunt, Richard I, he plays on his name. Means broad shield. Means broad shield. Or, no spot can tell me of his presence there. Or, no spot can tell me of his presence there. Homer knows nothing of the belt, and it is the dead Hector who is dragged round the tomb of Patroclus. Homer knows nothing of the belt, and it is the dead Hector who is dragged round the tomb of Patroclus. Archer like rancor by itself is a term of reproach. In the Iliad is the best bowman in the Achaean host, but also a good man-at-arms. Archer like rancor by itself is a term of reproach. In the Iliad is the best bowman in the Achaean host, but also a good man-at-arms. An allusion to the story of who, after the Dorian conquest, agreed to cast lots for his share of the Peloponnese, and in order to secure the last lot, which he coveted, put a lump of clay into the urn instead of a potsherd. An allusion to the story of who, after the Dorian conquest, agreed to cast lots for his share of the Peloponnese, and in order to secure the last lot, which he coveted, put a lump of clay into the urn instead of a potsherd. Imprenta. This is the product of many hours of hard work by volunteers for Standard, and builds on the hard work of other literature lovers made possible by the public domain. This particular is based on digital scans from the Internet Archive. The source text and artwork in this are believed to be in the United States public domain. That is, they are believed to be free of copyright restrictions in the United States. They may still be copyrighted in other countries, so users located outside of the United States must check their local laws before using this. The creators of and contributors to this dedicate their contributions to the worldwide public domain via the terms in the CC01 Universal Public Domain Dedication. For full license information, see the at the end of this. Standard is a volunteer-driven project that produces editions of public domain literature using modern typography, technology, and editorial standards, and distributes them free of cost. You can download this and other carefully produced for true book lovers at .org. Argument. The arms of Achilles, claimed by Ajax as the bravest warrior in the host, were through intrigue given to Odysseus, and Ajax vows vengeance both on the winner and on the awarders of the prize. But Athena, his patron goddess, whom his arrogance has estranged, sends him a delusion so that he mistakes for his foes the sheep and cattle of the Greeks. Athena, when the play opens, is discovered conversing with Odysseus outside the tent of Ajax. She will show him his mad foe mauling the beasts within. The mad fit passes, and Ajax bewails his insensate folly and declares that death alone can wipe out the shame. His wife and the chorus try to dissuade him, but he will not be comforted and calls for his son. The child is brought, and after leaving his last injunctions for his brother, Ajax takes a tender farewell. He then fetches his sword from the tent, and goes forth declaring that he will purge himself of his stains and bury his sword. Presently a messenger from the camp announces that has returned from his foray, and has learnt from the seer that if only Ajax can be kept within the camp for that day, all may yet be well. The chorus and set forth in quest of Ajax, and discovers him lying transfixed by his sword. Finds the mourners gathered round the corpse and is preparing to bury him, when Menelaus hurries up to forbid the burial. After an angry wrangle with Menelaus departs, but is succeeded by Agamemnon, who enforces his brother's veto and is hardly persuaded by Odysseus to relent. Ajax is carried by his to his grave, a grave, so they prophesy, that shall be famous for all time. Ajax by Sophocles. Translated by Francis. May you do good and not evil. May you find forgiveness for yourself and forgive others. May you share freely, never taking more than you give. Copyright pages exist to tell you that you can't do something. Unlike them, this page exists to tell you that the writing and artwork in this are believed to be in the United States public domain. That is, they are believed to be free of copyright restrictions in the United States. The United States public domain represents our collective cultural heritage, and items in it are free for anyone in the United States to do almost anything at all with, without having to get permission. Copyright laws are different all over the world, and the source text or artwork in this may still be copyrighted in other countries. If you're not located in the United States, you must check your local laws before using this. Standard makes no representations regarding the copyright status of the source text or artwork in this in any country other than the United States. Non-authorship activities performed on items that are in the public domain's so-called sweat of the brow work don't create a new copyright. That means that nobody can claim a new copyright on an item that is in the public domain for, among other things, work like digitization, markup, or typography. Regardless, the contributors to this release their contributions under the terms in the CC01 Universal Public Domain Dedication, thus dedicating to the worldwide public domain all of the work they've done on this, including but not limited to metadata, the imprint, colophon, this, and any changes or enhancements to, or markup on the original text and artwork. This dedication doesn't change the copyright status of the source text or artwork. We make this dedication in the interest of enriching our global cultural heritage, to promote free and culture around the world, and to give back to the unrestricted culture that has given all of us so much. Table of contents. Imprenta. Argument. Personi. Have. Ajax. Ajax. Endnotes. Colophon. Landmarks. Ajax. Endnotes.